Welcome to Flip Lesson 89 for the 5th grade. Today we're going to be exploring more with our geometric solids, and specifically we're going to talk about pyramids. And we're going to analyze pyramids and really get a good understanding of what it is that we want to remember when it comes to pyramids themselves. So first of all, we want to understand what a prism actually is. Prism is a 3D solid with two congruent bases that are parallel. So these are the characteristics that you need to have a prism. So let's look at a couple of prisms that we have here. And you can see I've labeled them A, B, C, which is going to become important later on in this lesson. Then, rectangular prism. It says rectangular prism looks just like that. We identified this earlier and we said that another name for this is also a cuboid. But when it comes to a rectangular prism, it's to know how to label and name the vertices and the edges. So looking at this, we can say, okay, if I have this rectangular prism, I'm going to count the faces. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the one way in the back for 6. So we have a total of 6 faces. Vertices, I'm going to count the corners, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And so we got that. And then edges, of course, are all the lines. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And so that's going to equal 12. And we'll see if my computer catches up to me. There it goes. All right. So we have that idea. Pentagonal prism. Let's do this one again. Faces. Okay, we got pentagon, pentagon, 1, 2. And then we're going to have 5 rectangles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's going to give us a total of 7. Vertices, let's count our corners. What you're going to start to see is there's going to be a pattern here, right? If I have 5 here, I have to have 5 on the other side, and it's really just going to be double, right? Just like here. If I had 4 here on the first one, 1, 2, 3, 4, there's 4 on the other side, so it's doubled. Edges, all right? So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the back side, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 going all the way around for a total of 15. And mathematically, there's a pattern there also that you can see with this type of prism. Okay, octagonal. Faces. All right, we're going to have 1 on the top, 1 on the bottom, and since it's an 8-sided figure, we're going to have 8 rectangles going around helping us out. So that's going to give us a total of 10 when it comes to this one. Vertices, right? Once again, the corners, if we have 8 here, we're going to have 8 on the bottom. So that's going to give us a total of 16. And then edges, we're going to have 8 plus 8, right? 8 on the top, 8 on the bottom. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, just like that. So there's our 8. Those aren't very good lines. But we're going to have 8 on the bottom then, and then we're going to have 8 lines connecting this way also. So that's going to be 3 times 8, which is going to give us an edge of 24. So you start to see some patterns there when it comes to labeling and naming these things. All right, I'm going to give you just a few minutes, or I want you to pause the video right now and I want you to answer these. Find triangular prism, trapezoidal prism, hexagonal prism before you continue on with the next part of your lesson. All right, hopefully you got all these answers figured out. Let's move on to the next one. It says use the prisms from the previous slides to answer the questions. All right, now that we have this, we want to bring in some other ideas that we want to remember about prisms, all right? First question says, which prisms, A through F, have all parallel rectangular faces? All right, so our keyword here is faces. And so we're going to look back and say, okay, are all the faces in D, E, and F, are they all rectangles? Of course, the answer would be no, right? There's a triangle, there's a trapezoid, there's a hexagon, so they can't all be rectangles. Looking here, we see, okay, this is an octagon, so that can't be one. This is a pentagon, so that can't have one. But here, letter A, we can see all rectangles, because we remember that a square is a rectangle. We learned that once upon a time. And so, in the end, our question would say, yes, A, letter A, is a prism that has parallel rectangular faces. That's all it has. Okay. Second question says, which prisms A through F have congruent rectangular, right? Congruent, of course, means same size rectangular faces. And so we can go back through here, and we'll start with the simplest one. We'll start with our triangle, and we can say, okay, here is one congruent, and this is the same size as this one, but it doesn't look like it's the same size as the backside. So in this case, we would have 2 on this one, this side, and then the reverse side, this one way back here. So this one would have 2. This one looks pretty equal, so we would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on this one, because there's 6 working together there. Then if we go here, right, looks like our rectangles are all congruent on our octagon, so we're going to have 8 on that one. Same with our pentagon, so we're going to have 5 here, and once again with our prism, we're going to count the 4 that are going around, but we also can count the 2 on the end, so technically there's 6 here. But we see how that is. So in the end, A, B, C, D, E, and F all have congruent rectangular faces. Along with congruent and stuff, we can think about the idea of being perpendicular. So as you look at this figure, this is a prism. This is a different kind of triangular prism. But as we look at this, the question that we want to answer is, does it have any perpendicular rectangular faces? All right, and so we're looking for that right angle that exists there. And so as you're looking at the shape, hopefully you can see some right angles popping out at you. And right here, you're going to see a right angle here, right? Which means there's a right angle here. We could talk about the right angle in that corner. We could talk about the right angle in that corner. We could talk about the right angle here. We could talk about the right angle here. So in the end, there's really a lot of perpendicular rectangular faces here. And so in the end, we could say that this side right here, that back side, is perpendicular to that base side. Excuse me, that base side right there when it comes to this shape. All right. As you go through this, then go back through your figures and figure out which figures have A through F have perpendicular faces. And then I want you to think beyond the figures that you have here and answer that final sample question. That is lesson 89.